If you walked into an 8th Air Force barracks in 1943, you'd see something that would stop you cold. Empty bunks, made beds, personal effects still folded at the foot of each mattress. No one touched them. No one talked about them. Because in 1943, being a B-17 crewman wasn't a job. It was a death sentence with about a 75% chance you'd never finish your tour. We're taught the B-17 was the flying fortress, a legendary shield of democracy, a symbol, a story we tell ourselves. But to the men inside it, the 19-year-olds from Ohio and Georgia and New Mexico who climbed into that fuselage day after day, it was a high-altitude trap. The numbers weren't just bad, they were mathematically impossible. To understand why so many B-17s never came home, we have to look at the lethal geometry of the sky and the cold, industrial arrogance that almost lost the entire air war. The B-17 was designed as a bomber, but in practice, it was treated like an airborne machine gun nest that just happened to carry bombs. The U.S. Army Air Corps had a theory called the combat box. Just like the bar gunners' walking fire doctrine, the idea was elegant. Pack 54 B-17s into a tight, three-dimensional staggered formation, and you'd create a sphere of .50 caliber lead that no fighter on Earth could penetrate. On paper, it was beautiful. In the air, it was a massacre, because the combat box turned the B-17 into a prisoner of its own formation. You couldn't dodge, you couldn't dive. If you moved so much as an inch to avoid a flak burst, you would slice the tail off the plane flying next to you. Your friend's plane, the crew you ate breakfast with that morning. The B-17 was a fortress, yes, but a fortress that was stationary in a 300-mile-per-hour sky. Just as the Japanese learned to shoot the BAR gunner first, most the Luftwaffe learned the B-17's dead zone very quickly. Early B-17s had a catastrophic vulnerability: the nose. German aces like Egon Meyer realized something brutal. If you flew head-on at a B-17 in a 12 o'clock high attack, the combined closing speed was over 600 miles per hour. The American gunners had maybe 2 seconds to acquire, aim, and fire before German 20mm cannon shells were already shredding through the plexiglass. 2 seconds. Think about that. In those 2 seconds, the pilot, the co-pilot, the navigator, the brains of the plane, were often dead before they even registered the shadow in the windscreen. The B-17 was like a knight in heavy armor with no helmet. The Germans weren't trying to shoot it down. They were performing a ballistic lobotomy, and they were very, very good at it. By late 1943, the numbers had graduated from brutal to absurd, and by 1944, the Germans had doubled down with a new idea: the Sturmbock, battering ram tactics. These were Focke-Wulf 190s, armored like flying tanks. They closed to point-blank range on the bomber streams, so close that American gunners reported hearing German engines over their own. They weren't dogfighting. They were executing, methodically, mechanically, at close range. And here is the cruel irony. The B-17's legendary ruggedness became its own curse. It could absorb so much punishment that it killed the men inside. The navigator in the nose, the waist gunners, in the man in the tail, and still keep flying. Because the plane could take that kind of beating and limp home, U.S. commanders convinced themselves they could send these bombers deeper and deeper into Germany with little or no long-range fighter escort. The flying fortress doctrine said the formation could protect itself. They believed the fortress could handle it. They were wrong. The climax of that thinking came on what crews still call Black Thursday. On the second raid to Schweinfurt, U-291 B-17 ES flew in. 60 were shot down. Another 138 came back ripped apart. Over 600 men vanished in a single afternoon. That's not a battle. That's an industrial malfunction. And somebody signed the orders. Here is the truth no one particularly likes to admit. The B-17 didn't stop being a death trap because the bomber got better. It stopped because the escort did. Because of the P-51 Mustang. Until the Mustang arrived with its long-range drop tanks, and the B-17 was a bar gunner with no cover fire, exposed, predictable, and alone over enemy territory. The moment the P-51s could stay with the bombers all the way to Berlin and back, the math, finally, agonizingly, began to shift. But even then, the cost was staggering in a way that defies easy comprehension. The 8th Air Force lost over 26,000 men. To put that number somewhere, you can feel it. That's more than the entire U.S. Marine Corps lost in all of World War II. Every time a B-17 didn't come back, 10 families got a telegram. And it happened almost 5,000 times. Almost 5,000 times. The B-17 never came back because it was superior. It came back because of the sheer, desperate, unreasonable bravery of the 19-year-olds inside it. Kids who figured out, on the fly, how to nurse a broken machine across a hostile sky and put it down on an English runway. They were marked men from the moment they crossed the English Channel. They flew through a sky engineered to kill them, knowing the statistics, understanding the geometry, and climbing in anyway. Every time their number came up, the BAR was a solution to a trench warfare problem. The B-17 was a solution to a world war problem. But the price of that solution, the real price, not the one in the procurement budget, was paid in the blood of men who knew, statistically, mathematically, and honestly, that they should never have made it home. And they flew anyway,